Hello and welcome back to the Wars to Come. You have your host, as always, Jesse Carpenter. It's nice to see everyone. We have a full cast tonight. We have Mr. CT. How's it going, CT?
What's up, dog?
We have Alejandro. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. We have Mr. Aaron Groff. How are we doing, Aaron?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Wonderful. You surviving that weather out there in Colorado?
Yeah, snow hurricane.
Yeah.
Snowmageddon.
And then we have an illustrious guest tonight, Mr. Todd Jansen, all the way from Texas. How are you doing? How are you doing tonight, Todd?
Pretty good. How are y'all doing?
You surviving that weather down there, buddy?
Yeah, it was like 81 degrees and sunny.
Oh my God! Get out of here!
It was great.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
Actually, today was like
off.
50 degrees for me. It was like 45, 50, but we have so much ice and snow that it was just like torrential raining onto snow and then just turned into ice, and it was awful. I have fallen no less than 5 times this week walking to my car. It has been phenomenal.
Why are you so shit?
I mean, I'm pretty just awful at everything, to be honest with you. But I am excited tonight. We have a fun episode for you. So tonight we are doing something that Todd and I think Todd originally came with the idea, shot over to Groff. So we decided to bring him on for it. And then Alejandro had some good ideas, and CT did. And I didn't really, but I'm around. It'll be fun. We're going over some common misconceptions and conceptions in the game, our opinions on them. We're also going to be covering what we think were the tier 1 decks before the restricted list and what we think they are now. Like, not necessarily different decks, but like, say in a Tark Fealty list, are we running Marine or Hisdar or Flea Bottom or Trade Routes? Like, what exactly is that restricted card? Because now it feels like for the first time in the game, things aren't just soft banned, that you are actually making decisions. Like, the restricted list killed decks, but like, I believe some of those decks are still alive. They're just different. So it's exciting, I think. And I think I hope you guys do too. So without further ado, I'm going to shoot it over to Alejandro, who's going to get us off the ground running.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good explanation. Not what we think the best decks are currently, but what kind of was at the top, but got hit by the restricted list, and now we really have to rethink it. Let's see. I'll just start from my list here. At the top, I've got Targ Fealty. What do we think? Going in, that deck had a lot of cards that were hit. I mean, depending on what version we were playing, right?
So the thing is like Targ Fealty wasn't really played before the restricted list, right?
I mean,
this is just HRD. Like this, like that slot, like the true bird deck was just taken over by HRD Marine on a competitive level, right? Or no?
I don't think that was a true burn deck. I guess maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think you're probably right though. That like the Marine deck and the Shadows deck probably took the slots that Fealty was set. My I guess in general, I was really just putting this all together and talking about burn in general. So
sure,
if we want to talk about burn, that works for me.
So is Fealty the only agenda viable for burn?
Probably not.
You could run that in the summer, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think that like I just mentioned Shadows, and that's probably still viable. Fealty is just like the most natural home for it when we talk about burn, but no, I don't think that Fealty is the only one. I know that there was a European tournament where like a Targ Wars just won the thing, which was super interesting. I think that I would probably naturally pick Flea Bottom for my restricted card in a burn deck. Really, I think that in my mind, like the only two options are either Flea Bottom or Marine in Targ. So I'm just picking between those two. And I think that if I was playing a burn deck, I would play more plot draw than I would want out of Marine. Just because it's less awkward to like lose your burn cards in marshalling or use your marshalling cards in challenges, and the efficiency that you get from Flea Bottom you still get to run the Second Sons, which is really big when you're trying to whittle them away with military challenges or just play really efficient cards and challenges. That's where I would sway. I definitely don't think that it'd be wrong to play Marine, especially if you're playing like Shadows still. I don't know. Where do you guys sit?
Dragon's Tail. You're wrong.
Sure.
Most of what Alejandro said, I feel is correct. I've been playing a lot of card decks, and I feel that either Flea Bottom module or Marine module is still totally viable out of like any kind of deck. Like I've still been playing my Worlds deck just without Hisdar and Flea Bottom, and then I tried it without Marine and tried it with Flea Bottom, and like they play differently and you change cards, but like I mean I think they're both still fine.
Yeah, to clarify, the CT's Worlds deck was a crossing list. It was like fairly burn heavy, not super, but fairly.
Yeah. Like it didn't have like everything in it, but like it had burn.
Yeah,
and it was a Big Danny deck. And like I'm a lot more down on Big Danny now without Hisdar for sure. Like because I think so. Like I haven't found a deck yet that I like Hisdar in more than picking Flea Bottom or Marine. So I think it really hurt Hisdar a lot. I still think Hisdar's a cool banner card, like a really good banner card, if you don't have an obvious restricted. But I definitely think like he took the blunt of the restricted list damage, whereas Marine and Flea Bottom are both still really good picks. And like it doesn't necessarily matter which type of target you're playing, like they're both pretty viable depending on what you want to do. You said, it can be a little more awkward to play Marine and Burn if you're not doing Shadows, but like it's still drawing 5 cards a turn.
Yeah, Marine's still busted. I think I kind of glossed over it, and I do want to elaborate a little bit more. The reason why I wouldn't pick Hisdar is because I played a lot of Targ with Hisdar and Flea Bottom and Marine, and the games that I ran into troubles were the games where like that deck is designed to just poop out your hand. Like you've got Kotho and Hisdar, like you just want to do everything. And the games where I had trouble closing were the games where I didn't see the Marine. Like I felt like if I saw Marine like 5 cards a turn, you can do so much. But if you don't see Marine, you dump your hand out like minimum by turn 2, and then like you really need to focus your plots around that more than we were in the past. So that's a way different deck than the crossing list from I played a very similar deck as Stalik, but yeah, those style decks.
I'm definitely still leaning towards Marine as being my personal favorite.
Yeah, I definitely like my snap judgment when we first got the restricted list, and I was thinking about this, was that Flea Bottom was still going to be everywhere for me. But as I like build more Targ decks, I really want Marine more often, and just like feel like the characters are so good anyways. Like there's just so much else that you can do. Flea Bottom's still really, really good in Targ. Like let's not go away from that too much. But
like if you look at the restricted list, like if you look at Buzz's deck for more, that deck's more viable as just now because all you have to do is take out trade routes. Like Flea Bottom in that deck, that specific build, is really strong still. And it's like all you have to do is change your money around, and the deck still draws plenty without Marine.
That's probably like the biggest indicator of which one you want to play. Is like cards that want to play from the hand more should probably run Flea Bottom, and cards that want to play to the board more should play Marine. I think that's probably a good way to draw that up. What do you guys, Groth, Todd? What do you guys think?
I would say the only example I've seen of this deck is Buzz's recently, and he, I believe, had maybe Support of the People. I think he pulled it off on me, which I think if you're going to do some of those locations, I think Flea Bottom is the best support. And then I think I would go personally with Marine because I like draw, and I think that Marine's going to feed the so I guess if your challenges, maybe you like Flea Bottom, right?
Yeah, I think all Targ decks are like Targ doesn't really have a non-challenge based deck. They like all those decks want to do challenges.
Not if you're Daryl Weber.
Yeah, trying to play false
That's
builders
fair.
like
That's
an
fair.
idiot.
If you're playing ban or watch, I guess
Some people are
totally
obsessed. I swear to God.
wrong.
Start
Jesse,
waving
I know
people in. It's nasty.
you hate those cards, but do you have any opinions on?
Well, I said my opinion in chat and it got shredded, so I feel like I shouldn't say it in live. I think it would be interesting to run. I think it'd be interesting to run meddling.
Oh yeah, you're an idiot. Okay, moving on.
I know Todd's got a burn summer deck, so I know he's got some ideas.
Well, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, you run it out of the summer and you run Skahazadan and exchange of information and try to supplement your income that way. But I mean, I think overall I would agree with you. I'd probably stick with Marine on that. I think seeing the cards is definitely better.
Yeah, that fixes your gold problem, so now you just got to draw.
Yeah, I mean, losing trade routes and losing Hisdar, you're going to have to find a different source of income. So, I mean, doesn't Targ just lean more on Beggar King and other sources like that?
Yeah,
I don't know. Target's still really good. It's super annoying.
Oh, sure.
I don't think it's annoying. It's pretty cool.
I mean, it's fun to play if you like to win.
That's false.
Target is totally sweet for the next 3 weeks.
No, I mean, I remember we were playing around, probably 6 months, a year ago with Skazadan. I know that Italian list I was playing around with and with the Dothraki, so sure that could be another route Targ starts going towards, unless you see more barring, I guess.
I'm sure we'll talk about this more. That was a real jumpers heavy deck.
It was a very jumpers heavy deck.
That was it was a lot of fun, but I fucking hated having to play 2x exchange of information. We'll talk about that more later. But
I literally just typed into the chat, you have to play garbage cards like exchange. I knew it was coming. I could feel it.
Oh.
Okay.
We'll touch on
let's see. Moving on. So we kind of clumped both of those in. The more to the board decks, which I would include Sea of Blood in that. They're playing Marine, and more to the hand decks are playing Flea Bottom. Let's see. My next one on my list is Stark Fealty. So I was there's two of these that I want to touch on. They're kind of similar, but one is like the Wama style mid-range list, and another one is the cat list. So what do we think is the restricted card in those?
Wyman. In both.
In both, yeah.
Wyman so far. Yeah, so far I've found Wyman is just still stupid.
Here's the thing.
Can't get it around.
Yep.
I've played a little bit of Stark recently. Just a tad bit. I don't think people remember Stark without Wyman because it's fucking bad.
Yeah. It's real bad.
I remember it. I fucking remember it.
Yeah.
Wyman is if you're not playing a control based deck, which Ward is the correct answer in control based decks. It's Ward is still an insane card. But in most just mid range challenges decks, in every Fat Cat deck ever, it's Wyman.
It's Wyman, yep.
Yeah. He's a really, really good card. I'm probably playing a 76 card deck where I don't even know if I'll see him, but my restricted card is still Wyman. Just when I do, I just go off. He's nuts. I really like him. I don't know. Yeah. I think Wyman is the right answer in every Stark deck that's not control or attrition.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that list lost a lot of pieces. Flea Bottom was so good in that deck.
Yes.
Of course, trade routes is good in all these decks, but and Ward, that deck also lost Ward. Is there anything that we think Ward is playable in?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, yeah. Well,
Banner, Winter.
Yeah, I have a Banner.
Yeah,
Stark Shadows, which I do think is a real deck. Ward is the right answer.
Sea of Blood. What's your Stark card for Sea of Blood?
For Stark Sea of Blood, it's
probably still Wyman.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Wyman gives you so much action economy. It's insane.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that you could definitely
And the
consider
thing is like
Ward in that deck.
Skagos isn't restricted. So like if Skagos isn't like, it's just they're insane together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like Wyman a lot. I think he's the answer in most of those decks. I think in Banner Wolf it's still Ward.
Well, it depends on what Banner Wolf package, right?
Yeah, depends on which one.
Are you playing Targ Banner Wolf and bannering for Ward? Like, maybe that deck's just dead and we're not seeing it, but I'm not sure that you would play Ward in a Targ Wolf deck.
I'm not sure. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
I don't know. But in the mid-range deck and in the Fat Cat deck, it's Wyman. And I think this killed Stark Wars.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars is dead.
It's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe like someone like Nate Tarantelli can surprise me or something, but like I just don't see why anyone would play
Nate's
Wars to
been playing
Come.
fealty. Nate's been playing fealty on Iron Throne. So
Yeah, I don't see why anyone outside of like a Drowned God deck or outside of which I don't even know that I played a Drowned God anymore, honestly. Outside of Barra, I don't know. Outside of Barra and Builders, I don't know if Wars to Come. I think it's like almost banned at this point. Like
Orange card, dog.
Sure, Martell Wars is still insane. I forget we were literally talking about that for 20 minutes before the show. Like, yeah, Martell Wars is still heavily tier 1, but
Barra Wars, dog.
We'll get to
I've been
that.
playing Barra Wars.
I said Barra Wars, dog.
Did you? Oh, okay. All right.
Absolutely, it was the first
Yeah,
one I
I mean,
said.
Okay.
you guys kind of mirrored my thoughts. Just Wyman is too good. Okay, so what do we think? Let's move on to Greyjoy. What do we think? If we consider them getting hit by the list. Okay, I'll push this one to Jesse because I have no fucking idea. In Drown God, what do you think the restricted card is?
Trade routes. If you want to win, it's trade routes.
Okay, there's no consideration for Iron Mines or Wars.
No.
There's so many ways to get them back.
I think Drown God is like meant to put like so like if it was like 3 months, it was like 3 months ago before Aaron and before Old Grey Goal and stuff, like when Tarl was your only win condition, he's still your best win condition, but when Tarl was your only win condition, then yes, Iron Mines would be the right answer. But now that like you can win the game without Tarl, I've won several games without Tarl. Like I think the correct list is Greyjoy Sun, first of all.
Absolutely, exactly. That's what I was about to say.
And I think the correct answer is double trade routes because you need the economy.
Yep.
The deck is just greedy, and you don't really care what your opponents are doing, and you just need to nut Marshall as much as you can at any point. Like, you just need money so badly in that deck at all times.
Yeah, you don't see Ward much anymore, so like Gold Greygull can be your target for power now. So like, there's things that are a lot safer.
Aaron is also really,
so you don't
really
need.
good.
Yeah,
the new Aaron is insane.
But like you said, you have 3 options now to put power on. Before it was only just 1.
Yep.
So.
Okay, what about in a Greyjoy mid-range deck? This used to be Wars, but I'm just assuming that they're not playing Wars anymore. They might switch to Fealty or Reigns or Sea Blood. That's probably a category of its own, but Crossing as well should be considered.
Sea Blood by far the best deck I've seen. By far.
So I think the answer is pretty similar for most of these decks besides Crossing. So I think it's still Iron Mines for most of these decks, but I'm not sure. Like I don't play a lot of big guy Greyjoy stuff, but I think so. Like your 7 costers are better than their 7 costers. Like being able to leverage Valor is just really, really good in the meta.
Tempo Valor your opponents. Yeah,
especially like getting to play Valor now with initiative, possibly. Like. That's really stupid.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. I don't know. I think like if I were to play I don't know that I would, but if I were to play a mid-range like Greyjoy Fealty or Greyjoy Wars or not Wars, I'm sorry, but Greyjoy Fealty or Greyjoy anything besides Crossing, I would play Iron Mines still.
Anything Crossing?
Oh, Pinch and Raider.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just stupid.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That deck might be.
I mean, some people are playing the Greyjoy with the Maesters and stuff too, just because it just gets you draw.
What are you talking about? What is this? What are you talking about, Groff?
Just some East Coast players I've seen, and some overseas like Czech players, Czech Republic players.
No, I don't care who's playing it. You need to go into more depth. We don't know what you're talking about. What Maesters? Who's drawing cards?
I don't know.
Conclave?
Yeah, it's Conclave. I don't know exactly how they're playing it. I played against one, and it was just steamroll you with Asha, pillage, and then Maesters are drawing your cards. Yeah, because they're playing the glass candle. So like they're just literally just steamrolling you with this stuff. Because you're on with silence, and then you get Maiden's Bane in, and Asha just keeps going at you. So it's just the crazy concoction they do. But just because they get 7 cards off the deck and they go, Asha pretty much goes through your deck by turn 2. Like I'll just grab whatever I want by turn 2. So
all right, Papa's got to go build a deck.
I mean, there's some pretty good Maesters out there right now too. So
Maester Miranmore is fucking insane.
Those archives.
Yeah, Maester Mirror is really, really good.
Yeah,
you
he's
should
broken.
definitely be considered. You should definitely be considering Mirror in like every Greyjoy deck that you build.
Yes.
Yeah, every Greyjoy deck.
Aaron Ross said
But I've been playing the
deck with one Mirror in it. I was like, trash.
Last night we were like running through a gauntlet, and I was playing against Drake here in Wauside. He was playing a Bear Kraken deck, and I was playing a Greyjoy deck, and we both set up Miranmore. I was like, well, neither one of us get economy round 1. This isn't fun. Oh man, Miranmore is insane. I really like him a lot.
I think someone mentioned it. I think we need to talk about the biggest problem. It's the initiative boost that Greyjoy has. It's insane when a Force March is 13 initiative. And you're just like, I'm not winning initiative the next 2 or 3 turns.
Yep.
Greyjoy getting to pick whether they want to go first or second every round is it's a pretty strong advantage for them. Yeah.
Super
I
strong
mean,
advantage.
when like a Greyjoy Crossing or a Greyjoy Sea of Blood deck can play Force March, Vanquish.
What did you
and
do?
like what the fuck is going on? Like I can't do anything.
Yeah,
like I feel helpless. I truly feel helpless.
You get like 2 lines where you can disrupt what they're doing, and they're like, "Nah, Vince, dog." You're like, "Cool, all right." We're done.
Like
It's like, oh, great goal, dog. Vince goes back.
You stare across from like Euron, Balon, Vic, or something, or Asha. You're like, oh, I'm gonna fuck them up with Force March here. And then they play Force March, and they have a refurbished Hulk, and they're like, idiot. And I'm like, motherfucker. This is so annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, my buddy Stefan, he's in the Westeros League. He's top 8 right now with Greyjoy Greensight. It's like, what can't Greyjoy play right now that is not going to mess you up?
Hey, don't sleep on Greensight. That's good.
Brotherhood without banners. Greyjoy Brotherhood is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, free Mirror in it though, so yeah.
It's seriously a problem, man. Like, oh, that's cool. Like Greensight, I don't need you this turn because I got Balon who just steals your best character.
I will say this, and I don't know if this is like we don't have to get too terribly off topic, but I truly believe this. As bad as we're saying this is, I don't think this is anywhere close to as bad as Targ was pre-restricted list.
That's pretty bad.
Greyjoy can be beaten. Burn still beats Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Martell still beats Greyjoy. Like, Stark still loses to Greyjoy. Rip.
Yeah, listeners of the show will know that I'm not like super reactionary on this thing. Like, I agree that like Greyjoy is probably the best faction right now, but like,
sure.
Like,
but I
say
think
that they're unbeatable is just
yeah, it's not true.
Greyjoy's just at the place where they're so good, you just can't play fun decks against them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think part of the problem was they've been on top for so long with the break that people are just tired of it,
See, I don't think they were, right? Because the break was for like the break started in November, and Targ and Martell ran supreme.
And Stark,
Like, what?
right?
I mean, like, what big has Greyjoy won? Am I missing something here? Like, okay,
They won Red Saturday.
it won Red Saturday. Okay, yep, it won Red Saturday.
One. No.
It won big events in Prague. It won like 4 events in a row. Then you got some STs in England.
So I just mean like over
Yeah.
the break. I just mean like over the break.
Over
Like Targ ran
Yeah.
supreme for a really long time at the beginning, and like anyone who played Martell Wars won. Just that, not
Sure.
that many people played it. Like it's the
Well,
same thing with
we can't
builders,
just-
right?
Yeah, we can't discount everyone's playing on the Iron Throne and their local meta. Like that's where
Yeah.
it's out of sight, out of mind with some of these other decks right now. But right now, everything in your face is Greyjoy. So that's what we're talking about. You're
Yeah, I
right.
mean-
Has it won any big one recently? No, but
I mean, there's times where sometimes you play on the Iron Throne, and there's 5 or 6 Greyjoy Sea of Blood decks at any one time being played. I don't know. People
I
get
mean,
tired of it.
But
But
a month ago it was Targ Crossing and HRD Marine, and then like a month before that it was Stark. Like it ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows.
Sure,
It's just
the
that like
nature of a card game.
Greyjoy is annoying because they can win initiative, and like that's oppressive in its sense, and like within itself. And Sea of Blood is oppressive. Like that's what's oppressive.
yes.
Well, you don't think Vince is oppressive?
Like sure, but like every other champ card has had its day. Like
Sure.
Vince just chose to
Yeah,
make
But I
it
think
crazy.
we're at the point
remember
where
when Northern Armory was just fucking
Easy
killing this
Winterfell archery range.
Oh, yeah. Whatever it's called. Winterfell Archery Range.
But I think we're at the point now that Greyjoy is, it's tuned. It's nice. It's ready to go. It's ready to hit these events coming up and take you down.
Yeah.
I think there are better answers to Greyjoy in the meta than there were to say Targ and Stark at that point.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a lot of great
Tyrell going down. Yeah, Tyrell going down boosted Targ and Stark.
I mean, I also think that like what I think is cool about Greyjoy being at the top is that some of the worst houses are really good against Greyjoy, or what it can perceive to be. Like Barra is really good against Greyjoy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you paid 7 costs for. Oh, I'll kneel it. Cool. Now you have no dollars.
That's still true with
Martell icon stripping's good
Big
again.
Vic and Euron. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you kneel Euron, you can't stand him.
Yeah, other than Big
I don't
Vic.
I mean, other than Big Vic, and like all those decks should be playing 3x Milk.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't see Greyjoy playing a lot of attachment removal right now.
Not too many.
I mean, I think icon removal is really good, and it will continue to be really good until Greyjoy decides to read a card called Beyond Reproach. And until they do, like, they're just going to get beat by those decks. I mean, I'm sure they'll figure it out soon enough, but I'm just telling you, like, I think Bear's really good against them. I think Martell's really good against them. I think
Targ's really good against them.
Yeah.
If it's the right build.
Stark still loses to them.
You know, it feels good when they Vince 2 your actions on the first turn, and then you still get your Sea of Blood trigger, and then you go pull Burning the Dead, and they're like, "Are you fucking serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, boy, I'm serious."
Yeah. And the Sea of Blood deck, that's a good call.
There's a lot of Drown Guard and Iron Throne right now, dogs. If you're playing Sea of Blood, put one Burning the Dead in. You will not regret it. Once you hit 2 Desert Raiders, they just scoop. They're just like, "This is bullshit." I'm like, "Your deck's bullshit. Get over it." Sorry.
Okay, so the last house that I wanted to talk about, I know we kind of got a little bit off track there, just trying to settle everyone down from the Greyjoy hate. Our 2 Martell builds. So I don't know that there's a lot to talk about with Martell War specifically, because if you play Martell Wars, your restricted card is Wars. Martell Wolf, I think, is super interesting. It got hit really, really, really hard. I know Matt Clemens still just like final table the Store Championship 2 weekends ago or something. What do we think the restricted card is in that deck if
Ward.
it's still alive?
Ward.
Is it always War? Like I thought about this a lot. Well, I'm on Team Martell, so I thought about this and I was playing Martell Wolf before the restricted list. And initially, I again thought Flea Bottom. There's so many tricks that you need to like that Flea Bottom helps with, but losing Ward is huge. I don't like. I think that the answer is Ward, but the power level of the deck goes way down if you don't even have a chance of having Flea Bottom. It was the same thing pre-restricted list actually. Like if your opponent controlled your Flea Bottom, there was a lot of things that like you would have to do better in order to win the game. But now, like if you don't even have an option to Flea Bottom, like I feel like those games are going to be harder to win.
I think there are like Shadows options now that are viable, and I also like. So I think CT will appreciate this. Martell Wolf, I've played it a lot recently. It reminds me so much of the old Night's Watch Wolf, where like you can just nut lose to fucking crossing turn 1 or 2, but if you can stand off, I mean, you're gonna win on time, like 7-3, but like you're gonna grind them out. Like it's just a really long game now. Like it's just, like, and I like games like that, but like I mean, I think there's a lot of I don't think it's discovered yet what the right option is, whether Flea Bottom or Warden. I think both are probably fine decks. You know, like
I'm actually inclined to say I don't think I would play Ward anymore.
I mean, my Martell Wolf, like I said, plays a lot like the old Night's Watch Wolf. It plays Jackin, it plays Last of the Giants package, it plays Varus. I'm back on that train with it, and like it's doing enough for me. And like also, let's not forget Desert Raiders a card that helps.
Yeah.
But
Till they burn the dead. Till they burn your dead, man.
Let's see. The other deck that I had in here was Martell Shadows. I don't know how much people saw this wherever they were playing, but the deck is really fun. But it lost trade routes, which is a huge hit, basically to any Martell deck, but definitely here. And it also lost Dorn, which again, big.
At least we're getting a free fatty here in a couple weeks.
You can. That deck plays just fine running marching orders out of it.
It can, yeah, for sure. For just instead of trade routes. I think the answer is again Flea Bottom for me. You're definitely playing like Shadow City now, and so you can like always Shadow City into Flea Bottom, which is just insanely efficient.
Can you ever honestly say after flipping marching orders that you have any self-respect for yourself?
Not unless you're playing King Rob's host that turn.
There's still probably something you're denying yourself, though. Even if you're playing King Rob's host, I feel like there's some card you're not playing because of it.
Yeah, I found the taxation works well as too, because you just want to get economy out quick. So you got that hand, taxation can do it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good call.
Yeah, those decks definitely need to be running a lot of econ.
A lot of econ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess there's not a lot to discuss here. It's just Flea Bottom, and it's always going to be Flea Bottom for the Shadows list.
Yeah,
do you guys have any decks? Yeah. There's some consideration for Dorn in some lists, but
I mean, I think
Flea Bottom is just so good at it. Okay.
I mean, I think there's still a couple of interesting, maybe not decks I'm interested in, but a couple interesting choices. Like, does Builders play Wars, or does Builders play something else for trade routes? Like, where are they getting all their economy? Like, it's a much like. I think that's an interesting choice. I'm not exactly sure. And I was discussing with Chase earlier, and I'm not going to share anything because he's on Team Night's Watch. But like, he
would do it to you.
Yeah.
No, I just like I don't play Builders very often.
We found that out this week.
I don't know what the right answer is. Like Derek won with Summer.
That was a deck before the restricted list too, and so was HRD, right? Like all these builder decks.
Yep.
The best one was Wars, but they didn't need it. I don't think that they need wars.
I don't think they need wars either. I think trade routes is a real sweet card for builders.
Yep.
I mean, be damned.
And in summer, exchange being a 4 gold plot is just so stupid in builders.
Yeah.
But
a lot of mileage out of 4 gold in builders. Yeah. Do you guys have any decks that I didn't cover in this list?
All Barra decks just play trade routes, right?
We didn't say any Lannister decks.
Did any Lannister decks get hit with the restricted list?
Free hear me roar.
Free hear me roar.
Yeah.
Free hear me roar.
You have to choose between trade routes and flea bottom and hear me roar.
Oh, you know what tier 1 deck got just destroyed that we didn't talk about that literally got hit just as much as Martell Wolf and all those is Stark Lion got just wrecked.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
The
Stark Lion got wrecked.
Fleet
I
Bomb deck
forgot
got
since
torn apart.
Team Strike didn't brink any, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I
no,
really like
poor
that deck a lot. It just got ruined.
It's like the one Stark deck I loved, and it's just they just shredded it.
Shred, yeah.
Just gone. Brutal.
Tyrell.
Do the summer decks get hit really hard there?
No.
Tyrell Summer, they can't run trade routes anymore. I don't know.
They can run trade routes.
Why
They
can't
run
they
trade
run
routes.
trade
They'd be
routes?
playing trade routes.
Are they? Do they not want to play Mace before?
I don't
I guess
think
they
so.
can switch off of that, but the decks that I was seeing were running Mace.
I think Tyrell's either running trade routes or flea bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, just depends on if are they control or are they, like C or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Big guys, generic big guy stuff.
I personally think, and I'm not kidding in any way whatsoever, like not a joke, I think the best restricted card in Tyrell is all Fools, like by far and away.
What about
Not a
Littlefinger's?
joke.
What about Littlefinger's meddling?
Nope. I'm not like that's actually not a joke. I think Ladies is very good right now. Really, really good.
I think Littlefinger's meddling is really good in Tyrell as well.
Yes, in Tyrell Shadows, Littlefinger's meddling is nuts. You just like growing ambition and grab whatever 2 cards you need to start off the game. And if you grab an econ, you grab that 2-cost event, it's free. You get 5 gold, you can just nut out the board.
Yeah.
Then you can play Queen of Thorns, and then you can bring Jacket out of Shadows T1 and just ruin their life. It happened once. It was
Tyrell's got that luxury. They don't feel like Tyrell's not like I need one of these cards. Like all the other houses have.
no, they're just like, give me back Mace, dog.
That's fine.
Okay, I think that wraps up the segment. Unless you guys have another one to talk about, I just thought it was interesting to talk about restricted cards in those old decks. There's definitely a lot of decks that we didn't talk about that are still around. They just weren't.
That's all I got.
All right. Let's move on. Todd or Aaron, take it off here.
Yep. I'll take it off. So we'll move on into the to the next segment. Basically challenging common perceptions and conceptions. Basically, Todd came up with this idea probably about 2 weeks ago. He shared it with me. And I'm going to preface something before I give it over to Todd. There's no right or wrong. We just want to see where people are going to lie naturally. Like, where have people created their perceptions at and their conceptions about the game? And
So, do you want us to talk about it, or you just want us to give you answers?
no, we're going to talk about it, but I'm just prefacing there's no right or wrong. Like, there's no right side or wrong side on this debate. Just some people have inherently, and I'll use a example, Wausau, Time of Plenty, or, Gates of the Moon. They don't like giving people things. That's
Most of them actually like Gates of the Moon.
So, or perception. I'd say the ones that don't is what I'm talking about, like the Sam Brats or whatever and stuff like that. So that's just the conception or perception that we have of that area. So that's all I just want to preface with. Todd, if you want to take it away and where you got this idea and
Sure. Yeah. So I don't know. You come across these ideas on listening to different casts or things on Facebook or Discord, and you hear people talking, and some people can be really dogmatic about some of these ideas, like, this card is good, this card's trash, and like the idea was just to kind of maybe create some discussion to see what people think. So Aaron and I threw a list together. People don't
Not
have
comprehensive.
not comprehensive at all. Not comprehensive at all, but just like some things to discuss. Everyone in the cast might be in agreement on some of them. Maybe some.
Not.
Yeah, maybe some of them will be more controversial, but just as someone who spends a lot of time like listening to other casts and someone who comes from a fairly small meta, like I find it really valuable to hear better players talk about some of these things, and so that's really kind of the idea behind it. Like these were some questions that like I feel like people could maybe benefit from, or maybe just need to think about. So, want me to start with the first one here? Or?
Yeah, go take it away.
All right. So we're going to start out with things that people consider. Are there certain things that are always bad plots?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Already.
There we go. Right out of the gate.
Reigns of Autumn is always bad.
Oh, come on now.
There's So there's a few things to talk about here.
Yeah.
So the first thing that jumps to mind is that, like, are we only going to be talking about like either playable or semi-playable plots?
Yes.
Or are we talking about
I'm not we
don't want to talk about like Reigns of Autumn or stuff like that, but like
Why
like,
not?
makes sense.
we can hit on like 5 or 6 plots that like some people say are good and some people say are bad, and I think they're both controversial. And I think like when it comes down to it, most of these, all besides one, are good in some decks and just bad in other decks, and it's just like preferable to play style.
Sure,
the one we don't have to talk about is Time of Plenty because it's fucking garbage and no one should play.
God, man.
There you go.
So bad.
But why is that though? Like, what is your
Is it impactful? Is it an impactful plot? Does it impact the game state?
It is if you're playing Blood Riders.
I'm asking Todd. Has it ever impacted the game?
I don't know if it's a safe plot. I think it's why it gets played, right?
How do you feel about Noble Cause, Jesse?
I mean,
Noble Cause is a plot that doesn't give your opponent something that's better than Time of Plenty.
do all of your plots have to do something though?
Yes, I think plots should be impactful, and if you want to play a safe plot, I think there are safer plot. I think there are just as safe plots as Time of Plenty that are impactful. So, like, Calm Over Westeros is a much better opener than Time of Plenty. It is impactful, and it helps the game state. It's literally good in every single deck if you want to open with it.
Hang on. No. So the argument isn't, is Time of Plenty a good or bad opener? Because if we're talking about openers, I'm on your side. Time of Plenty is trash. But Time of Plenty is not a bad plot.
Yeah, we're just talking
Sure.
plot. Yeah, we're not talking order. We're just talking plot.
Well, I mean,
I think Time of Plenty has value, but I do agree that it is a shit opener.
Okay. So it's funny because I'm like on the reverse of this. Like, it's a fine opener in my mind, and I would never want to play it outside of that because it's not like after turn 1 I want my plots to be doing something.
You want them to be impactful.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
And not only is Time of Plenty not impactful, it actively gives your opponent a card. And in a card game, card draw is king.
It doesn't just hand your opponent a card. It
does.
On both sides, it's draw 3.
Like, how much are we playing devil's advocate for hedge case scenarios, like stopping someone's winter festival? Or,
No devil's advocate.
Or getting
what do you
triggers
think?
on your Ago.
Now, we want to hear your perceptions, your conceptions of it. That's what we hear. So, real quick, our 2 examples that came up was Late Summer Feast and Exchange of Information. Those seem to be the 2 ones that people hate the most.
Okay, wait, hold on. We're still. This is still.
I'm
interesting.
I'm giving you guys the 2 examples that we have. We want to hear your conceptions and perceptions about it. Which Jesse's Time of Plenty, we already know.
He says
You've been around for 5 minutes.
Your opponent something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just
You've already been around 5 minutes.
Disagree. How do you feel about Late Summer Feast, Jesse?
It's a lot more than 6 gold.
but does that card give your opponent cards or no?
See, I would never play it unless I could flip out.
Not if, like
you're
I don't.
playing
I
range,
play
right?
it. I play Late Summer Feast in decks that I don't do challenges in.
Yep.
Sure. You don't do challenges, or you can flip out of it. Then it has value.
You just don't play those style of decks, Alejandro. I'm being
don't
honest,
think- yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
play it
yeah.
in Fat Cat. I play it in Drown God. Like I play it in decks that just like take a turn to get
Any
set
range
up.
deck,
Like
any
So
range
like,
deck,
but
fine.
okay, so
Range
in
deck,
that Fat Cat deck, are you just giving every single challenge to your opponent turn one? Like they just throw any fucking thing your way, and you're like, I guess
Maybe
you
so.
have it unopposed.
so,
Because
no.
anything.
Military and power for sure. Military
Yeah.
and power for sure. But intrigue, sometimes you will block the intrigue if your hand is good, and then you're just trading.
But but you're also probably because you're playing Reigns if you're playing Fat Cat, right?
Correct. You can just
Optimally.
win the intrigue and get
But
out of it.
you're also getting a plot flip out of it. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's good in Reigns for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's,
sure.
I mean, it's good if you're not. If you give your opponent 1 card for 9 gold, that's probably better than giving them 3 cards. It's probably maybe better than giving them 3 gold for trading. Like, I think once you hit 2 challenges, you made the wrong plot choice, right?
Yep. Agreed.
So is that better? What's the better big money plot then? Because then trading gives them gold. So
In
is there-
challenges based decks, it's trading,
is it trading?
and in decks that you don't have 2 challenges or reigns, it's Late Summer Feast.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean those
And
those definitely make sense to me.
From favor.
I
Holland from
don't
favor is
like,
sweet.
like I'm fine with Time of Plenty, and I really, really don't like Late Summer Feast. If I can, outside of Reigns, like I've definitely played it in Reigns before, but
I also don't like opening with trading either, Todd. Like I like trading mid game. Like when they don't have any cards in hand, I don't care if I give you.
Well, and that 5 reserve sucks to open with.
I like trading if I think my opponent will overcommit.
Sure, if I'm playing I'm playing that style of deck, sure.
Yeah,
But
fair enough.
my favorite opening plot in the entire game is Peace and Prosperity.
Ugh.
yeah,
It is just a very, very good plot.
that's a good point. I've definitely had to have discussions
But
with
you have
people.
to build around that.
I mean, I play a lot of cohort dogs.
It's generic.
Yeah, you definitely have to build around that one.
Whereas the other ones we've discussed are always just generically good, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
Peace and Prosperity requires a certain density of locations and attachments to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely
Okay,
requires.
let's talk about exchange of information. If we're done with this, unless you're not just
Go ahead.
another density card.
Oh
Okay.
man, I have
So-
some opinions on this card.
do you want to get it started? Go ahead.
I hate
This card has caused me so much just anxiety because I won't play it. I just won't play the card. And it's just because I don't want to reveal 10 cards of mine. And like
You don't want to
50%
exchange that information for card value.
50% of the time, 50% of the time, it's such a bad plot, and I love it when my opponents played against me. The other 50%, they just hit the nut, and I just fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. And it makes me think like, oh, this might be a good plot. I'm just bad. Like, oh
Yeah.
god, I hate.
Okay,
that
so
plot.
it's funny. It seems like the Time of Plenty is going to be the most controversial here because I feel the same way. So we talked about the deck earlier. It was a Targ HRD deck that played 2x exchange because it was playing Skazadan, and I played it in one tournament and just promised myself that I was never going to play that plot ever again in my life. I don't like Jesse said that you tell your opponent 10 of your cards. A good opponent can tell a lot about your deck from 10 cards. And then if you open with it, it gives you that, but if you set up any locations and you open it and they see a dupe, and this gets worse throughout the game. Like if you have a character in your dead pile and they see one of those characters, like, oh, you're instantly getting this shit card. If they see one of your locations that you've already got, and you're instantly getting that dupe, and it just like it loses so much value in my opinion. And I don't like it in Targ. I don't like it in anything. I really
hate
don't
when
like
it's
that
played
one.
against me in Targ. Feels like every fucking time I hit the crown of gold. Every fucking
I've definitely played
that's
against
one of the
Targ,
best
and they
feelings is when they hand you that crown of gold across the table.
I don't mind it in Targ right now, to be honest.
I really don't like it in anything. I just but it does feel bad to like.
And also,
here's your crown, and
in builders, it's stupid too.
Yeah.
And, you can have this Cravener milk. Fuck. I hate it.
That's a good point. So in builders, there's much less like they're all non-unique guys.
Yes.
So there's less.
And if it is non-unique, I usually play decks with Valor. So if it is unique, I'm just giving them a dupe of Othel or Halder, and I'm like, motherfucker, like. I hate it. I hate it when it's played against me. And it's 8 initiative. I mean, or it's 6. What is it? 4. 4.
4.
Yeah,
4 initiative. Fucking 12 million reserve.
Yeah. I love it in Targ. I love it in builders. I would never consider it for any other deck I'm building.
Are you always opening with it, or do you not mind going in?
Its best value in Targ is like first, right?
Yeah, it's opening.
And then it just like diminishes heavily with Targ. I think it's always fine in builders.
Always. Yeah. I would agree with that.
That's why the Skazadan wanted to open it, because you brought up the dead. If there's a dead card in there or something like that, it just gets bad as the game goes.
It just made me feel bad because like I had all these locations that I really wanted to see, and so like it's a 3x Fleet Bottom, 3x Plaza of Pride, and then I'm like, I get 4 cards. I'm going to pitch it with Skazadon, so there's value there, but like, otherwise,
and the thing
I'm
with
not
Targ,
getting impactful cards.
Yeah, you don't always give a shit what you get if you're Targ. You're just like, I don't care. Just give me something that puts Kotho into play, or that I can discard for Plaza.
Pablo also brings up a good point. Can you imagine how good Exchange would have been with combo? Just fuck. Oh my god.
Don't they just hand you? Don't you just show 10 events? They're like, okay.
Every single card has value.
Don't tease me.
That's what it was, right? Like wheels within wheels, you just flip 10 events off the top. Like that's what happened here.
No, usually you average like 6.8 to 7.1. That was like the average.
Okay, average 7.
If you hit 10 events, you were rolling, boys. You were off to the races.
Yeah. All right, I think we move on to the next one, Todd.
Wait. Are we done with? Do we have other plots that we want to talk about?
I mean,
there's got to be some other plots.
I mean,
we just don't have time.
If you all have some others you want to discuss, go for it.
I don't have any.
We're gonna spend 30 minutes on one, and we still have like 10 other things to talk about.
We got 30 minutes to spend.
Yeah, dude. What else we got to do? Tomorrow's Friday. You ain't got no job.
I got a job. I gotta be up early.
So unless you guys have any other plots that you want to discuss,
Stop giving him a door, Todd. Move on.
Okay, move on. Fine. Door's closed.
Old Daddy Aaron taking care of us.
Fair enough.
He knew I was about to talk about naval. That's why he had to stop.
Yep, there we go.
I could have that discussion.
No trade routes equals naval's good again.
Who's ever said that naval is bad? I don't think anybody's ever said that though.
I just said it.
I was like, well, not as a joke.
That's funny.
All right. What's up next?
So, I mean, I can cut some out of the list, I guess.
Let's hit them all.
Hit them all. Okay, so Neil is too weak because of cheap stand. Is this correct, or is there?
Yeah, it's pretty correct. If you're not,
is that pretty correct?
The problem isn't necessarily that like it's because there's cheap stand. It's because like it's just like the value of Neil has diminished ever since the game started. When the game first started, everybody was playing one character a turn, and so the Neil was like super impactful. Now we've got better economy. People are playing like a bigger curve usually. Well, not bigger curve, but a better curve, like lots of low end. Like before, you could just like Neil everything, and they're and so the value that you're getting at a Neil is huge. But now that's not really happening that much. There's so many tools in challenge phase.
There's so much more jumping now, specifically.
Yeah. With shadows and flea bottom and more ambush stuff. So it's not so much that there's cheap stand. It's that it doesn't win you the game anymore. And
there's cheap action advantage. There's cheap action advantage that circumvents it. It may not necessarily be stand, right?
And Barrett does not have any. Like it's like stand is easy.
Got Fortnite Penrose, dog.
Stand is really easy. It's good in literally 5 factions now.
Yeah.
That's what someone just wrote. And then Buzz wrote, the cards are trash compared to first edition. So it is kind of interesting. You see a lot of bear cards are now trying to keep like permanent Neil. Like, that's probably a bad idea, right?
No.
I'm just saying Neil has gotten so bad that you have to create cards to create permanent Neil.
I honestly think Danny's scared to print a good Neil card.
Yeah.
I mean, they printed
we're gonna see Bobby, right?
But that's the thing, right? So if Solis didn't exist, I think Neil would be unplayable. Like, you couldn't even pretend to build a fucking Neil deck.
Yeah.
I mean, Bear of Faith Neil's a lot. Like, it's fine. Like, it's not that it's not.
That's not how it's winning, though. It's not winning.
Yeah, it's definitely not winning because of Neo.
Yeah, so
it's gaining tempo from Neo, but it's not winning.
From Neo, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on, and this is something y'all could maybe speak to more. I don't. My sole claim to fame is coming in just in the top 32 at nationals this past year. So, but in like a large tournament, especially in a tournament setting, is there a need to run a reset if you want to place well? Like, do you always need to run a reset going into a large tournament?
Post trade routes, pre-trade routes, and post trade routes. Yes.
Okay.
So your answer is just yes?
Just always yes?
Yeah. No. I meant like pre-trade routes and then post restricted list trade routes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. While trade routes was active, it was worthless most of the time unless you were playing Greyjoy, because you would just reset and they would just refill. Because everyone played it. Like.
So you're saying there's much more value now in it. That makes sense.
I mean, like, there are decks that you don't have to run it, but like, I literally think it all just comes down to what kind of deck you're running. But like, I want something. I usually want something, but I mean, it's just like, can your deck survive 2 resets? If your deck can't survive 2 resets, you should not play one.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the qualifier here is that it's at a major tournament, just because that kind of information isn't going to get out, right? Like,
I think that was the spirit of the question. Is your deck's gonna be a known factor after a few rounds?
And I think the answer for me is no. I feel really uncomfortable playing any deck without a reset. So probably for me personally, I just wouldn't, like, if that was a deck that I was going to choose, I might pick a different deck just because I want to be able to play some sort of reset. But I think generally for this question, like, you can definitely play a deck that doesn't have a reset and be fine.
Okay.
I mean, we saw that at Nationals with Dustin, who played a reset because he felt like he had to at a major tournament. But in all the games that I saw, like, it didn't. That wasn't why he won. Like, he didn't win because.
Well, that deck was running the Breaking Ties too, though, which kind of a soft reset. Yeah.
He also ran Valor.
Yeah, he also ran Valor in that. Yeah.
But there are also cards I consider resets, like Breaking Ties, Blood of the Dragon.
Yeah.
First Snow.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you can loosely interpret other plots as resets.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess if if that's your qualifier, then that's harder to answer. But I think generally the answer is no. But I think that there's probably not a big part of the group that's comfortable playing a deck without a reset period. So
post restricted list, I've tried really hard to build more decks without a reset, and I keep gravitating back to having one. So I think it is harder to not have them now, unless your deck just has like three 2K plots in it, which
Valor for me. Gotta run Valor.
all the Valors.
I haven't got to play any orange card decks in a while, so I don't know the luxury of just putting both Valors in my plot line and calling it a day.
Valor.
I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to it, but Wama's Listener Questions podcast did an episode on resets, and it was actually quite good. So
Buzz brings up a good point. HRD Marine never ran a reset.
Well, yeah, that's
And
a
it
good
was
point
called
too.
Daenerys Targaryen.
And Drogon.
No,
Yeah.
I mean that's just the point. Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's absolutely. Sorry, Todd, what were you saying?
No. I mean, no. I was just agreeing that they just burned everything off the board. Why would you want to reset your own board there?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that deck definitely didn't win in 6 plots, so it needed not to run one. Otherwise, there's going to be
okay. So next one was are there just straight up bad agendas that you would never
Yes.
consider playing right now?
I mean, never consider. I mean, that's a hard question for me.
Well,
but,
fair enough. Yeah. But
yeah,
like
Kings of Winter is actively bad.
Kings of Winter is actively bad. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Summer is just too good.
Okay.
There's no reason to run that agenda.
What do you mean by summer is just too good?
Rather
Winter.
run summer than winter, is what you're saying?
I mean, Winter gets shut off by Summer.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's too much summer plot cards in the game for?
I mean, they're just more playable, right? Like they're just better.
Yeah, they are. Just the thing you have to like think about is whether or not you see them. Like how many summer plots do you see in your average game?
I mean, now with no trade routes, it might be different. You know,
it's probably
Time of Plenty's people are playing.
people
right?
play trash Time of Plenty. I mean, people play like Summer Feast, Exchange,
but those are generally like the openers.
Calm Over Westeros, fucking sick ass plot.
Like,
Yeah.
I if we expand this to the banners, the banner packages got hurt a lot by the restricted list. You just you don't get as many impactful cards out of banners, so there's less incentive to want to run them.
Well, I mean, thinking about like the tournament that Kentrell's doing on the Iron Throne right now with the jank tournament that's limited to Green Sight and Faith Militant and Conclave and Brotherhood. I mean,
Brotherhood's a big one too.
I mean, is there anything in there that's just actively bad, or I mean, can decent decks be made out of those? I mean, obviously,
there have been
like
decks with those agendas.
Sure.
Am I ever like playing one of those agendas at Worlds though?
Yeah. There you
go. I mean, I would have played Tyrell Conclave at Worlds at that point if it was good.
The one from last year.
Yeah, I mean that deck was insanely good. I mean,
was it better than the other Tyrell decks that were available at the time?
At that point, yes. Like pre-Wars to Come, yeah, it was.
So we know Knights of the Hollow Hills coming, right? If it is literally like the same thing, I don't think it's playable in 2.0.
I do for sure.
I don't know. I'm pretty.
That's
hard pressed.
a different like style of deck building that I haven't even like. How could you know right now without?
Well,
maybe you've already dug in, but
as a 2.0 player, can you guys remind me what that did? Because I totally joined at 2.0.
You got 0 setup. You could not set anything up, but you got 2 gold. You got 2 gold as a modifier, plus 2 influence, which was essentially gold. Just different.
So it'll probably be like initiative or something.
But you also got plus 2 initiative.
So you might get like plus 2 reserve or something.
You might get plus 2 reserve. Maybe it's plus 3 gold instead.
Giving up your entire setup in 2.0 is so much more of a drawback. So much more.
I mean, it was a pretty big drawback in 1.0 too, I think.
Sure, but gold mattered a lot less in 1.0.
I think there will be a couple tier 1 Knights of the Hollow Hill decks.
It's hard.
Do those decks run? Are those character light decks, or like what style of deck is that looking at?
I think it's definitely attrition for sure.
We're by and far the most attrition heavy decks, and
also in 1.0 there was way more ways to get shit off the board, and there were more resets. And 2.0 it's just like we just discussed like 2 standards, 2 or 3 pretty decent ones, but like.
I mean, I don't know. Like with Sea of Blood, like I could honestly see like a Martell Knights of the Hollow Hill, like opening Valor, playing Valor turn 2, like and like running change up, like and playing like Garrus and change of plans and stuff, like going through your plot decks like super attrition and like always having.
Was that worth setting up no gold, holding the 5 cards that you were gonna set up?
I don't know.
Not being able to do that, just cutting your drawback like an entire round or two. Like
I have no idea.
Martell does not want to do that kind of thing.
We'll just have to find out.
Martell just wants to shit out a bunch of sweet locations at the beginning and then, or Shadows cards, and now they can't do that.
I don't know. It's hard for me to answer. I just don't like. I don't want to say yes or no because I haven't even begun to think about deck building in that way. So
right, I think it's going to be pretty rough to get it there.
Okay.
I feel like it just got reprinted because it was a champ card, and it may not actually be good. Like they did, I don't think they necessarily factored whether it was.
Yeah.
Like,
do we know that if it's going to be the same? Like, I actually have no idea. Like, I don't remember what.
I mean, you can see like part of the text box in the article, and it like you can tell that it just has like icons on it, right?
Okay.
Like we can see like one of the icons or something. It looks like it's probably formatted the same way the original was.
Okay.
Yeah, Buzz says it was the hard control decks in 1.0 and resets and events. The events were better, so those went together hand in hand to keep that.
That was a big advantage that they had. All the events were free, so they didn't have to pay for.
That's fair.
Paying for events is also a lot rougher.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll probably meet back here in a couple months, and I'll talk about how I think this deck is cool, and it'll be bad. CT will tell me I told you so.
Well, maybe we'll build a deck that wins a regional, and you'll be like, "I told you so," and I'll be like, "That's fine."
I mean, because if it's good, it's probably going to be with like black or orange cards.
Right, and that's the thing is if it's good, it's going to end up being busted for some reason, and
it'll be like a control deck or something, which will be cool.
Yeah.
You're not playing Rush out of Knights of the Hollow Hell. That's for sure.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be playing it.
Here you just open title plenty. You have 8 gold. You get 3 cards with no setup.
You're probably not winning any challenges turn 1, so you can probably just open Late Summer Feast.
That's true.
We brought it back home.
That's funny.
Maybe they'll print some more card cards that just come into play for free, and then you know what? I'll definitely eat my fucking words if they print 3 more card cards that are just like, here, I'm in play. I didn't fucking do anything. I'm just here. Okay, yeah. You know, Targa deal at legs for sure, or Targa Hollow Hill at legs for sure.
Sure. All right. So the next one, I feel like I probably already know the answer. It's probably pretty short, but it's something that I heard early on is challenge priority going into a challenging phase. Or sorry, a challenge phase. Is intrigue always what you want to lead with?
No.
Never.
No.
Almost never.
Almost never. Why is that?
It really depends.
It just
on the
depends. Like,
circumstance. It's so hard. Yeah.
What I think like getting into priorities with plots and with challenge phases and with marshaling, I think that can get you into a lot of trouble, and I think it can teach a lot of bad habits. I think like
when I say almost never, I mean I almost never automatically assume that one challenge is first.
The thing that made me even a decent player was like, CT and Alex Black, like slowing the game down for me. It was just like, pay attention to what's going on. Like, this is why this is important here. This is why this is important here. This is why this is important here. Like, these scenarios are important. Like, and like, that's the thing to teach new players, like understanding board state and what can happen. Going in with priorities, I think, just gets you in a lot of trouble. And you see it happening at every tournament ever. They will do an action and they'll be like, oh, fuck, I misplayed. I didn't mean to do that yet. I could have done 2 other things, and then this could have had, like, you just see that happen all the time. And, like, I think that's because people just get so used to just, like, being on autopilot with priorities. And, like, I do it too.
Yeah,
I will say that, like, as a, like, if there's nothing on the board that would impact it, I would do intrigue first.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, literally, like, not even challenge priorities, but plot priorities, like, I will say this because Buzz isn't here, but Buzz is listening. Like, I literally lost my Thrones War game to him because I set up Bran and Rickon, and like the nut locations, and I played Heir to the Iron Throne to sack for Cat. What do you think he played? He was playing Tarn Shield too. Blood of the Dragon. Rip. I should have known. I should have thought that was a possibility. I should have played around it. Like, I didn't, and I lost.
One of the reasons that Thrones is one of the reasons specifically that makes it one of the best games is every house's house identity completely changes and modifies the way that you have to challenge efficiently. Now, if you're playing against Martell or Greyjoy, you are probably doing intrigue first, like 9 times out of 10, sure. But I mean, the board state can matter. Honestly, sometimes I'll do my power challenge based on just like how skillful I think my opponent is, and if they might fuck up, like they might think that you think that power challenge is important. You have to play the player, and you have to play the house you're playing against. There's definitely never just like a predetermined order.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point against Greyjoy. Like, just like 2 days ago, I was playing a game online, and I did a military challenge. I just like wasn't thinking. I'm like, oh, he's only got one character. He's got one freaking card in hand. Whatever. I do the military first because I don't want to I want to get the unopposed for the intrigue because this guy's going to be off the board. And then of course the fucking cards are risen. I'm like, God, just do this right, and it's fine. Of course, yeah. So it's definitely way more. Look at the board. You need to know what's going on the board. Than
sure. I think that was probably the heart of the question is trying to maybe fix some things that like I ran into early on, and slow down and think about it more. So
yeah, I know that as Martell, I definitely if my opponent opens intrigue, I'm like, oh, yes, there's a chance that they're going to give me a good flea bottom target here. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. And so the next one here, actually, I think leaks into a little bit what CT said, thinking about like house identities. Do certain houses always have initiative? And again, the use of the word priority, but do certain houses always have initiative priority set? Like, does Martell always want to go second? Does Greyjoy always want to go first? I mean, there's certain, I think, mechanics that are built into those houses that benefit you from doing that. But like, are there viable builds out of houses that can do other things? Like, does Martell have a go first deck? Is that possible, or is that something?
Yeah, Wars is
Martell Wars is the best Martell deck.
Yeah, Martell Wars, Martell Crossing, even.
Sure,
I want to go first.
Yeah.
I mean, Greyjoy, big guys usually want to go first. Drown God usually wants to go second.
It's definitely like more like as a player, I want to play second. And so like sometimes, a lot of times actually, even when I'm playing Greyjoy, if I don't have like a reason to want to go first in my hand or on the board, I'm just going second. And like, I know that there's chances that like I pull a card off the top of my deck and I'm like, fuck, I should have gone first, but I want to play second most of the time. Yeah, of course.
It's like when you're playing Martell Wolf and you tell him to go first, and you have a Ramsey in hand and you top deck a ward, and you're just like, mother, fuck. God damn it.
Right. So inherently, second's usually better, right? Because you want to react to what your opponent's doing, but like sometimes they print cards that skew that like heavily, like Sea of Blood, Ramsey, Drogon, Put to the Sword, and anything with Intimidate on it. Like, these are big factors, and a lot of these kinds of things didn't exist before second edition. Yeah. So going second was like almost always better before.
Yeah.
So if you're playing a deck that wants to go first, even though your deck probably doesn't, is it worth playing a plot, maybe that is less ideal to take that initiative from them and go first over them? Is that just completely situational? I don't know if that made sense, but
I'll play suboptimal plots to an initiative sometimes.
Yeah,
if that's kind of what you're saying. Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
Wildfire with 2 dudes out. Fuck yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, if it's important to stop your opponent from doing something that they're trying to do, yeah, I'll definitely just try and win it. Like, initiative, foregoing other things for initiative can be super important. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, there will be some turns where like I'm playing like something I really need to play, like turn 1, to where I think I need to get the lock or something. Like, I'll play Force March turn 1 sometimes just to go first. Like, I don't care.
Yep.
Like, sometimes you just need to.
One thing, just to like emphasize what CC said earlier, like reacting what your opponent is going to do is really, really, really powerful in this game. So if you make your opponent go first, or they go first willingly, and the turn doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go, like just based on their marshaling, that can it completely alter the way you marshal. So like there's definitely like I've said before, I'm always thinking about what plot I'm playing next, and like if that changes like drastically while they're marshaling, I might completely change what I'm marshaling because now I want to do something different next time. You know, if they're overextending to win this turn, I'm just like, all right, well,
So
I'll play some locations and I'm gonna.
Primarily, I don't know very many like top tier players that I talk to who enjoy going first. Most of them like going second if it's opportunistic for them.
Sure.
Yeah. If my
Playing
opponent's
reactively is just better.
My opponent's going first on purpose, and there's not a reason on the board. You know, there's something going on. Like they have a plan.
Yeah,
you need to be thinking about.
Sure.
You gotta trigger that Kotho and draw phase because they're gonna hit you with the Ramsey or something, right?
Yeah.
You got to do something.
No, okay.
Don't hold on to something important against Barra if they go first. They're like they have a scene in flames. They have one.
Oh, I'm Barra. I'll sit on 1 gold. It's either a scene in flames or a privileged position, idiot.
Oh, speaking of when you want that power challenge to be first against certain houses.
Yeah,
Yep.
fair enough.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And like actually, and like for me, since I've been playing so much Martell these last 4 months, however how long it's been, that is super amplified for me because there's not a situation in Martell where I really want to go first. Like unless I'm going to lose like this turn, I'm not going first. Like with Wolf, the only time was like if I wanted a Ramsey that turn, and then half the time I didn't even care. Like I was like, it's a pretty good Ramsey trigger, but I could probably just do it next turn too. Like we could just go through this and he'll be available there. So there's for me, Martell, it's way more true that I always want to play second than any other house.
Do I have Darkstar? No, I'll be second.
And that's of course is different in wars or stuff.
Oh yeah, I guess the army guy too. If you're playing wars,
that's a good point. Okay, so the next one, and admittedly, y'all are way better deck builders than me, so this is why I ask. But when you're building a deck, is there a proper way to? Is there a better way to build that deck? Do you always start with plots? Do you consider the win condition first? Is there a most efficient way to build a deck, or is that completely based on the person?
There's most efficient ways, but it's like teaching someone how to write a story. Like, sure, there's a most efficient way, but people's writing styles are different. People's building styles are different. Like,
pretty astute, yeah.
The best deck builder I know is Bratz or Hano, and seems like they just think about a cool interaction, and that's what they want to do. So they build 57 other cards around that fucking interaction, and then they tweak and tweak and tweak, and like that's what I usually do. And then you have players like Alejandro and CT who just like start with efficiency. Like, oh, these are the best cards in this faction, and this is my win condition. I'm going to put these 20 cards together, put Econ in, and then we're going to build around this right here. And like that seems very good. Where me, I forget about Econ and stuff. I don't care about that stuff. And then, I get yelled at and they're like, you should probably play like more Econ. Or, I think there's just different ways to do it. Like, I think it really depends on your play style and your building style and, what you really get out of deck building.
Right now, I usually set win or die in a pile, and then I think about maybe 2 other plots I want, and then I build my deck, and I build the other 6 plots.
Fair enough.
But
they go hand in hand a lot. So
it depends on the deck you're building. Like if you're building a Martell Wars deck, you have to be thinking about your plot deck while you're building your deck. Like, as opposed to say Greyjoy, where you build your deck and you're like, now how do I play all these cards? Like
7 coster, 3x. Oh, maybe I'll run the 3x Euron, 6 coster. Yep. Oh, I clicked on the wrong 7 cost Balon. I'll click on the other one.
Yeah, maybe with Targ you build your plot deck first because like what the deck's trying to do, and then you figure out like what helps you get the efficiency out of those plots. Like, every house kind of feels different to me whenever I'm building.
Sure,
super interesting, and that's like literally one of my absolute favorite things about these war style formats, is like you get to see how different people build and what they find, and like what that process looks like. Because you don't just because a lot of times when you build decks with like Friends and Thrones, it's like through text messages and stuff, and like it's like, oh, here's already a deck I had, like you just tweak it, and then but through these war style events, a lot of times you're actually theory crafting the deck together, oh, I think this is a really cool card. We should just build around this card and then see what happens. And I just find that fascinating to see how different people do things.
Sure.
Yeah. And they really should have
staying on the deck building topic. Or did you have something there, Aaron?
Yeah, I was just going to say that they really should inform each other. Like, if you are building a deck first and then you go to your plot deck, obviously you got to be thinking about those. And then if you get to the plots and you see a plot that you really want and it doesn't really make the cut with the deck that you build, but you think that it might put it over the edge anyways, you go back and you tweak the deck. I've definitely done that. So just wanted to throw that out there, but go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah.
Staying on the plot, the deck building is thinking about like the number of limiteds that you need to run. Is 9 always the best number?
No.
Yeah,
No.
definitely
Not
not,
always,
in
but
my
it
opinion.
averages to be very high.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to have such a problem with it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I do not run a deck anymore without 12 econ. I just don't.
Econ is really, really, really important now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that I start with like 9 and 3 non-limited econ locations,
Right.
and so we're still running 7 limiteds, but really there should be 10, 11, 12
Yeah,
cards.
we're starting to
that
break
give
out
you-
of the limited
Yeah.
crutch, so to speak,
Sure.
which feels
and
good.
that probably is what allows you to go deeper with your too, because it's hard to like jam so many limited cards when you can only play one a turn. But
Now that
I
there's
definitely-
non-limited econ, first of all, it feels absolutely fucking amazing on setup or on turn 1 if you can play a non-limited econ and limited.
Yep.
It you just feel like you're leaps and bounds ahead.
yeah,
but I
everyone was
just-
starting 12.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Thinking about other things, and this is something that when I first started, I heard people say, and maybe it's a holdover from first edition, and you guys that played first edition could tell me, but the idea that draw equals win does that hold true in second edition? Yes or no on this one?
I have a strong opinion on this one.
Go for
Go
it.
I
for
didn't play first
This,
edition.
this carried over from first edition because in first edition, draw did equal win because in first edition, you could basically play. If you had a deck and you drew a card in the game, you probably reasonably expected to play the card at some point in the game because the economy was so much more lax. So draw equals win. In second edition, action advantage equals win. And there's
Okay.
more action advantage that doesn't necessarily involve paying for cards, or more cards that are replayable than there were in first edition. So yes and no, because obviously you need to draw the cards that give you the action advantage and the replayability. But I think it is more important to have cards in second edition that have longevity in play. Like the discard pile is so important, right? In second edition.
Yeah.
You definitely need card advantage to win games. Not always. Like, I mean, but card advantage is good to having more card advantage than your opponent is good. But yeah, like the playability of the cards is really important. Like if you have so many cards that you can't play them, like it doesn't matter. Like in tempo matters. It depends on how much like the draw cost. There's a lot of different factors there. Generally, draw is still very, very good though.
Sure.
But it's not whoever draws the most cards wins anymore.
Also, first edition Rush never really could get a foothold in the game. If a Rush deck got good, it got restricted to shit immediately. As soon as a deck in first edition went on the first or second turn, they restricted the hell out of it. Rush is a viable strategy in 2.0.
Damn. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
I've always been a 1.0 elitist. It said it was the better game, but Yes, like Rush is a viable strategy, so drawing cards isn't as important when you can actually win a game in 2-3 plots.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like a few people on this cast have seen me just like unbelievably happy. Can you imagine how drunk I would get if they restricted Lord of the Crossing? I
Just
would
gonna cycle
just-
out in a year and a half, bro.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You have that marked on your calendar already when it cycles?
That shit
Until the
never-
first spoiler from the fucking Targ box is a reprint of Lord of the Crossing.
They're gonna reprint that shit, Targ only, like fucking no restrict. Like it'll be
No restricted list.
You get -1 terminal burn on their first challenge.
Your opponent's
Oh,
characters
fuck.
get -1 on the first challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm super in for this idea. Where's
Oh,
where's
God.
You start with Marine. His dar's legal.
Yeah.
You can only run his dart because it attaches to your agenda after it dies, but it can't die for some reason. Fuck.
So like to summarize, draw equals win, but draw is like one piece of a lot of things that equals win.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you're playing a tier 1 deck against a tier 1 deck, usually who draws the more cards will win the game. But draw does not always equal win in this game, in my opinion.
Right.
If I'm playing Stark versus Targ and I see my answers before they see their answers, I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
Second
Fair
edition is a lot swingier, so card quality makes a huge difference.
All right. Okay, so the next one, do certain cards in the card pool keep certain factions from being competitive? Was the way this was worded.
Every other card that's not bear.
Crossing makes Martell less good. I hate this.
Okay.
Motherfucker, don't let him talk to. No, Martell literally won Gen Con and Worlds with Crossing at an insane level.
I wouldn't use the term insane level, especially Gen Con. Worlds definitely higher, but
Stark Crossing wasn't insane at Gen Con.
I don't know, Jesse. Was it? Was it?
Fuck you.
pick him. Get him.
Stark Crossing literally won Nationals and Gen Con.
It didn't win Gen Con though.
It didn't
Oh
win Gen
yeah, it
Con.
didn't. Martell did. That's
Martell
right.
Wars
Oh,
won.
what did But what did Martell say? Oh, you said it was bad against Cross. Fuck you.
The Martell decks I like to play need you to not get 15 power in 2 plots.
Just play Martell Cohort, dog. You just shut them down.
Winning initiative is really important in that deck, and guess what happens in this meta a lot right now? Not winning initiative when you're playing Martell.
Okay. All right. So the next one could probably be. I don't know. I could see it going short. I can see it going really long. Maybe it's over talked, but I think it's interesting given the new update that allows you to dupe your limited econ locations. Are dupes bad for the game? Because this is something you hear out there sometimes.
No. My good friend and fellow White Book host, Scott Levine, says this. Sure, is it annoying? But like, it's been around since it's in the frameworks of the game. There's like no changing it, so I don't ever feel it's important to discuss.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
like I mean, we can discuss it. I don't care.
We don't. I mean, we don't have to.
We
can agree that they're probably bad for the game, but it just doesn't fucking matter to discuss it anymore.
Because it's not gonna change. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But then people can throw out the argument that like, oh, like lore wise, playing unique characters and duping them is like this good. Like, I don't care either way. Like it's been around since I've played the game, so it doesn't matter to me. Like,
fair enough.
You know what? I've got a misconception that I'd like to talk about. How people always say, this is like one of my least favorite sentences to ever hear. And like, I get it, because I'm on the other side of it. Decks that you play, like I hate not being able to do challenges. Like, challenges is what the game was supposed to be about. There's fucking 6 other phases in the game. Who cares? Every deck should have a viable win con. Like I don't think that challenges should be the most important phase in the game. I don't care. It should be important, but like I think that's a misconception that like the other phases don't hold importance and you shouldn't be able to win in the other phases. It's just non-interactive. Now, if you want to say it's non-interactive, that is a valid argument.
Okay.
I love non-interactive wins. They are fun. But what'd you say? Sometimes?
Sometimes.
I mean, sure. I don't like getting heads on spikes for a win.
Well, we've all been there. Okay, so the last one I had, and this is something that I've discussed with some people down here from time to time, and maybe it's just it's a conception of how people want to play the game or think it should be played. But is Thrones as a game meant to be played like big guy versus big guy or unique character versus unique character?
No.
Is that, I mean...
The game was meant to be played get to 15 power before your opponent. However they chose to design cards after that fact is what we get.
I mean, even in the lore of Thrones, like if we're going just total Nedley, like even in the lore of Thrones, many unsung heroes and like hedge knights can be heroes within a battle or a war. Like many like maids and like little whispers and like little birds are very important throughout the realm. Like I think that, I mean, I don't like that argument. I don't like when people like. I think it's cool that like I think it's cool that I can do things with non-unique characters that like you don't know of and aren't cool, and like I can beat a Jaime or Tywin Lannister. Like I think that's awesome. If Martin has told us anything, that like everyone is like no one is immortal. Like people can die.
Sure.
Yeah, I generally agree with that. I think that kind of culminating in the last two topics, I do like. I have the most fun in games where we are playing the same game. Like, so if we are both playing a deck that is challenge based, and that's where I have the most fun. Like, if we're both playing a deck that's passive power based, then that's a lot of fun to like race to 15. So in either scenario, it's fine. It's just like when those get morphed, that things get weird. Like, oh, there's really nothing that I could have done there because you're playing a different game than I am. So
sure.
I think people shouldn't bitch because Thrones is still always like it's really hard for Thrones to not interact with each other due to the way the win condition works. Whereas there are a lot of card games where two people are literally just asymmetrically playing their own game until one of them wins.
Sure.
And Thrones very outside of like one turn combo, like Thrones has never really had a big problem with players like your decisions, you being held accountable for your decisions as to whether your opponent beat you or not.
Yeah, that's a real good point. I think it goes even back into deck building and your decision to take that deck to a tournament, right? They have consequences. We don't like to think about it, but there's consequences to that.
Yep, 100%. It wasn't on the list, and I don't know, Jesse, if you've answered it before, but Jesse, what's the most Nedley card that we have in the card pool?
Ooh. Jackin?
Jackin's the most Nedley for you?
Probably. I mean, like, if I'm thinking about it.
Got Jackin on the mind.
Jackin or Drogon? I mean... like, I hate one of those cards, and I love
really
one
high
of
up there. Sansa's really high up there in a way that's more interesting than Drogon or Jackin.
Who is?
Why is that?
Fox Sansa.
Oh, sure.
Like she's literally a character that evolves and changes what she does over time.
Yeah.
And she becomes like what perceives to be weaker, but possibly stronger as she's just getting like beaten down to the core.
Exactly. He gains insight after she gets beat, and so I think that is pretty Nedley.
Drogon just beats you in the face until the game ends, which doesn't take very long usually.
I mean, like as much as I hate them, I think that a lot of what Targ does is Nedley. Like, I think that, like, Khal Drogo is Nedley. I think, like, Jorah is Nedley. Like, the Betrayal Tokens is really cool.
Jorah's very Nedley, yes.
Grey Worm. Like, all the Handmaiden stuff I think is really cool.
There are also cards that are in their simplicity also incredibly Nedly, like Robert. I think Core Robert is one of the Nedliest cards, even if he's one of the most inherently boring cards. But it's just like, essentially, the more people who aren't doing anything in the kingdom, the more influence he has. And the better he is at getting like one person around to just be like, for him to just like shut somebody down.
I think a lot of the Direwolf stuff is Nedly.
If Direwolves could inherently ambush without their stupid fucking location, they would feel so much Nedlier.
Yep.
Or maybe if there was more Shadows Direwolf cards. Like, it just like marshalling Direwolves feels weird. Not very...
I think Ramsey would be incredibly Nedly if he had to sacrifice himself.
Well, that doesn't really...
When does he not?
Oh, he doesn't all the time, dude. Sometimes you need that green icon, dog.
I guess if you've got Skaga,
but it's more Nedly that he sacrifices other people you have that probably didn't want to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Sure, that's fair, actually.
Yeah.
Some of the Allure events that are really bad are probably Nedly. You know, I just like I like them. Drown God is inherently not Nedly at all, but I really like it. Like they don't actually.
You finally give up that argument. Finally, we used to argue about this all the time. You'd be like, Drown God's the Nedliest thing ever. I'm like, bitch, nobody ever coming back from the dead, aside from Catelyn Stark or Beric Dondarrion, is like Nedly at all.
Robert Strong is pretty Nedly.
Oh, that's Bobby Swole.
Oh, Bobby Swole.
Not really, because he hasn't actually killed anybody yet.
Oh, he will, dog. Klansman is Nedly,
that matters, but he's been killed in a lot of people.
The issue with
this is not a show game. He has not killed anyone yet.
The issue with Klansman is like you usually use Harrenhal and like Hear Me Roar a lot, which like that doesn't feel Nedly.
Not Klansman. Yeah, that's not Klansman.
Like Mountains of the Moon is Nedly. Like Mountains of the Moon is sweet. Like they know the terrain better than you. Like they'll have an advantage in every battle. Like that's cool.
I don't think anything that ever gives a Klansman an intrigue icon is Nedly. But sure.
Oh, horseshit. Chella already has one.
If that's the way you want to play it, dog.
Chella's Nedly with ear tokens. That's cool.
That is pretty cool. Well, most things that invent their own token are generally pretty Nedly. Beric is Nedly. No, actually, Beric is super not Nedly, right? Because he's back from the dead. He shouldn't prevent himself from dying.
Yeah.
That actually doesn't make a lot of sense at all. And in the same vein, Thoros is not terribly Nedly either.
Oh, the White Shadows is incredibly Nedly.
No, because they're not like... They just go away again.
Well, I'm saying for that turn, it's Nedly.
Sure, fine.
The plot can't be broken.
Some people would disagree with you.
It's funny. I mean, that's all I had for the topic, boys. I think it was a good discussion. Thank you for humoring me for a while.
Thank you for bringing it
Varamir, good
call. That was good.
Oh, Varamir is a good call.
For sure.
Yeah. Varamir is a good call.
A lot of the Wildling stuff is pretty cool. Like,
Egret's pretty great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I made one of the... So, you know how I have like the most embarrassing fuck-ups like once in a great while? I played against a fucking free folk deck the other day, and I definitely opened Force March because I thought I was going to kneel 2 dudes, and Ygritte was one of them, and I was just like, whoops! What have I done? What a waste! Forgot that stupid bitch can't kneel. Ah! Why do people play free folk? Stop torturing all of us.
Because you don't have a soul.
It's just the equivalent of jerking off on the Iron Throne, basically. Like, either pop out a quick win, or it's just like incredibly embarrassing because somebody can't. Like,
sure.
You cannot win. There's no moral high ground for playing free folk on the Iron.
I love it when I play. When I have two desert raiders against free folk. It's just like, okay,
Good game.
Are we going to continue this?
Yeah, I love that I just have a deck with Valor Morghulis in it, and then I'm like, cool, I'm not going to lose. But if I don't have one, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
This could go badly.
Yep. the way I feel whenever I see a Tyrell Knights deck. Like,
First, they'll take care of that one.
yep, that's true too.
So is that it?
Yeah, I mean that was it for my questions.
Okay.
And I really appreciate you guys answering them. A lot of those were things that that had just been on my mind as I had learned the game, or as I had been kind of absorbing the game for the past couple years. That I thought would be valuable to answer, especially for people coming into the game, to hear good players talk about those sort of things. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you so much for coming on. And to our listeners out there, I sent Buzz all the information. We are getting all our episodes backlogged back onto the actual podcasting site, so Apple Music or Apple Podcasts and Android and all that. So expect to see this up in the next couple days.
Sweet.
Yeah.
CT, got anything cool going on this weekend?
This weekend I'm going to the Festival of Fools in Toledo.
Festival of Fools.
Which will be
Nice.
the last... What?
It's the last Midwest before the championship.
It is the last 2018 Midwest circuit stop before the championship next week.
Wait.
And it is also for a championship.
Is Jesse's a 2019?
Yeah,
Jesse's is the first stop of the 2019 year.
Mine was the first stop of the 2018, and it's the first stop of 2019.
Jesse's will always be the first event of the season.
Sweet.
Yes.
I heard you guys are gonna share what you're playing at Jesse's, right?
Targaryen.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
I'm probably on Shadows or Martell Shadows, but that's not set yet.
I'm probably playing Alliance or Shadows.
Cool.
I'm probably playing one of the agendas you expect. One of the ones that kills people or gives me power.
Groff, you got anything going on this weekend, buddy? Or I guess the next 2 weeks, because we won't be back for 2 weeks.
We have store champ next week, I think. So our second store champ.
Oh hell yeah! What are you gonna play?
Probably play Night's Watch Greenside.
You should play my deck, dog. We gotta fix
Play
it.
your deck.
Todd, you got anything going on?
No, man. I'm taking a group of 8th graders to DC this weekend. So
Whoa.
no thrones for me. Just nothing but education. But I'll get back on a tournament eventually here.
Yeah, well, safe travels to you doing that. Alejandro, you got anything going on?
Yeah, store championship this weekend.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going up to Minnesota, hang out with my Kings, and play some Thrones with most of my team.
Nice.
A lot of Minnesota boys there, so I'm going to do that. And then next weekend I'll be in Indianapolis for the Circuit Championship at the brewery and join some good, clean Midwest Thrones and some beer.
Nice.
Maybe some Game of Thrones board game after that, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Thank you guys all for joining us, and I hope you guys join us next time on The Wars to Come.
We love you.
Buzz, you can cut it.